Hello and welcome to our lesson on one-step inequalities, where we will be solving and graphing those one-step inequalities. I first want to remind you that you should be taking notes during this lesson. There will be times during the lesson and at the end where you are asked to pause and have Mrs. Kempf check your work. So please make sure that you have somewhere to write things down today. Our objective for today is that you all, the mathematicians in my classroom, will be able to solve one-step inequalities. For some of you, I understand this may be review, but we just once again want to make sure that we are all on the same page in our understanding before we continue on here. So first, our first inequality here, we have -1 is greater than or equal to y plus 12. So I'm actually going to start solving this the same way as if it were an equation, and I'm going to draw my line on the inequality symbol. And I see y plus 12, so I am going to subtract 12 from both sides. These 12s cancel, and I end up with -13 on this side. So I have -13 is greater than or equal to y. So I do need to graph my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and make a number line down here as best as I can. And as I look at this here, I see that it is a greater than or equal to symbol, so I'm going to have a filled in or closed circle on the -13. And here is one way where you can check your answer. There are kind of two check steps here. As I try to decide which way to draw my arrow, it looks to me that -13 is greater than all numbers. So I believe it is referring to the numbers that are smaller than -13. But something that I can do to check that is plug a number from my number line where my arrow is in for y. So is -13 greater than or equal to -15? And the answer to that is yes, -13 is greater. So that shows me that my arrow is pointing in the correct direction. I can also check by plugging into my original equation. Into my original inequality. -1 is greater than or equal to -15 plus 12. -15 plus 12 is -3, and -1 is greater than or equal to -3. So I've got two ways where I can check myself here. Okay. Once again, because this lesson should be mostly review for you, I am going to ask you to go ahead and solve these two inequalities. And when you are done with these two, the answer is not in the video. I am going to ask that you pause your video, solve these two, and raise your hand for me to check your work. So please pause, and when you're ready, raise your hand. All right, welcome back. So you should at this point have had the answer checked by me, and I am keeping track of who is having me check, so please make sure that you are following those directions here. And let's continue on to our real-world problem. We're going to do one real world together, and then you will do another one on your own. The hard drive on your computer has a capacity of 120 gigabytes. You have used 85. You want to save home videos to your hard drive. What are the possible sizes of the home video collection you can save? So what I know is that my storage size, my 120 gigabytes, is the largest number of gigabytes that I can store on my computer. So anything else that I put there has to be less than or equal to that storage amount. And I noticed that I have already 85 gigabytes, and I'm hoping to add some more to that with my home video collection, so I'm going to do H for home video. And now I have my inequality. So at this point, I need to, again, solve it like it is an equation and do subtract 85, do the opposite. And I end up with H is less than or equal to 35. So on my number line, 35, 36, 37, 38, 34, 33, and so on. I have the less than or equal to, so I am going to do a closed circle and show that anything less than or equal to 35 gigabytes can be added to my hard drive before it becomes full. All right, go ahead and take a look at this next one. When you are ready to check your answer, please resume the video, and I will have the answer to this one on the video. So when you're ready to check, press play. All right, welcome back. A club has a goal to sell at least 25. So what that tells me is that the minimum is 25, and the amount sold can actually be greater than that if the people are selling lots of stuff. So when the club has a goal to sell at least 25 plants, my amount sold has to be greater than or equal to that 25. Club members sell 8 plants, sorry for the typo there, 8 plants on Wednesday and 9 plants on Thursday. And then I need to sell some on Friday. So I am going to be thinking about the 8 that I've already sold plus the 9 that I've already sold plus the possible number of plants, pea plants, that I will sell on Friday has to be greater than or equal to 25. Well, I know that 8 plus 9 is 17. And so I'm going to subtract 17 from both sides to see that P has to be greater than or equal to 8. So again, with my number line, closed circle on the 8 because of the or equal to, and I need to sell 8 or more plants to fall in line with my goal. All right, so let's continue on here. We have done adding and subtracting so far. Not a whole lot new here with our equation knowledge for this one. I see x divided by 3, so I'm going to times by 3 on both sides to get x is less than negative 6. Open circle on the negative 6, and with x being less than negative 6, I'm going to point my arrow to the left. Again, I can plug in that negative 8 or any number on my arrow for that matter to verify that I have my arrow pointing in the correct direction. Now, there is a special rule when it comes to multiplying and dividing by a negative number. So anytime you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number in your inequalities, you must flip the inequality symbol. So I have a problem here. I will show you how that works. For this problem, I need to multiply by negative 3. If I were to not flip my inequality symbol, my answer would be n is less than negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and start my number line here. Open circle on the negative 3, and in this particular example, my arrow would be going to the left. So what happens then if I plug in a number with where my arrow is pointing? Well, I'm going to choose negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 3. Negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. And 2 is not less than 1. So I have myself an incorrect inequality. So in order to remedy that, we have to flip the inequality symbol, which also in fact flips our direction of our arrow. And once again, I can pick a number from this side to plug in. What if I put in a positive 3 instead of a negative 6? 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1, and negative 1 is less than 1. Okay, again, when we check, remember we are going back to the original inequality. Okay, so let's take a look at another one here just to verify that we've got this down. Draw the line, divide by negative 4. I am dividing by a negative number, so that tells me I need to flip that inequality symbol, and I have v is greater than 2 over 4, which is the same as 1/2. So on my number line here, I have a couple of options. I can just do whole numbers and estimate where that would be in between and label that, or I could do my number line also with fractions instead of whole numbers. Open circle on the 1/2, and it says v is greater than 1/2, or all numbers greater than 1/2, so that arrow is going to be pointing to the right. And once again, I could put a number in to double check. Negative 4 times 2 is less than negative 2. Well, negative 8 is less than negative 2, so I've got my arrow right, and I've got the right answer. All right, if you would please go ahead and try this problem. When you are done, once again, please have me check the answer to show that you have an understanding of this topic. And once you have this question correct, you are done, and I will give you the homework assignment.